So right now, the strategy that I'm going to explain to you is exactly the same process that we use for our small case. And if you search on small case, the name of our product is Livelong Wealth itself. We are going to discuss what we refer to as our alpha portfolio. So our outperformance with respect to the multi-cap has been around 50% over the last 2 years, and that is from the time I got my SEBI license. But this is something we are deploying for the last 4.5 years. So yeah, this is the same portfolio, and this is the same product that I'm going to explain, the same approach. Over here you see 49% CAGR, but on actuals you'll be getting around 42%. So let me start with the process. How do we select stocks? What all are the parameters that we look into? What is the average risk-reward ratio that we basically keep as a benchmark? But what we keep as a benchmark is not what we realize. Okay. So many of them spoke about breakout trading. So can you guys tell me what is the biggest challenge a breakout trader faces? So as a breakout trader, what is the biggest challenge that we face? False breakouts. Okay. False breakouts. And the second thing is speed or momentum. So if I ask you, are you happy with getting maybe 15% return in a swing trade? Would you be happy? Yes or no? You would be happy, but the question is how much time does it take to give you that 15% move? So sometimes we see that the movement happens, but movement happens over a large duration of time. Okay, so we need the movement to happen. We can't avoid false breakout, but as much as possible, we want to reduce the chances of a false breakout. So first step, when it kind of comes to selecting a stock, we majorly make use of stocks that is in a long built-up phenomenon. And once again, I just wanted to tell you, whenever we are deploying our capital, it is not that we deploy our capital in a single go. So we usually have more or less max to max like 2 entries happening in a week. And for us, let's say that you want to deploy 100% of your capital, it will usually take a quarter's time. This will take almost 2.5 to 3 months time to deploy your entire capital. And on average, every week we'll be having just 1 to 2 entries that is taking place. So how many of you over here look at seasonality while you are basically taking swings or positional trades? So how many of you are familiar with the concept of seasonality? Perfect. I'll show you like how you can make use of seasonality. It is nothing else but the concept that at the end of the day, all the companies that we invest in or all the companies that we trade in are nothing else but stocks. They're stocks, but they're just companies. And every company has a seasonal business nature. And if you basically have a look at the past, you'd be able to identify those companies that has a more chance of doing better in a specific quarter. So bare minimum, we start with a 1:2 risk-reward ratio. This is what we usually keep as a benchmark, but obviously on real, what we get is something different. Okay, and once again, as all of you know, as a swing trader, the best of the money can be made by not going with fixed targets, rather by riding the trend. So we majorly make use of change of character in order to take out exits. So let's start off. So how many of you over here basically trade breakouts for a pretty short period of time? And if you are trading in Nifty, could you please tell me what is the kind of move that we usually see before the first major pullback? So when there is a breakout, whenever there is a 52-week high or an all-time high breakout that is happening in Nifty 50 stocks, what is the kind of moves that you usually see? How many of you have ever tried quantifying this? So if you look at the bell curve, and I'm pretty sure that most of you guys are basically familiar with what the bell curve is, which basically conveys to us where majority of the moves would actually fall in. So as per the bell curve and as per our backtest over the last 5 years, we kind of actually see that the move basically varies anywhere between 3.87 to 7.65%. That is, whenever there is a 52-week high or an all-time high breakout in a Nifty 50 stock, the movement basically ranges. Majority of the moves usually confine within 3.87 to 7.65%. This is the usual range. Now, the thing is, so if I'm expecting this kind of a move to happen in Nifty, so what should be my max risk tolerance? So we usually don't take a risk in the absolute price of the stock of more than 5% in any of the swing trades that we undertake. Because we know if there is a breakout that is happening, 3.87, anywhere between 3.87 to 7.65 is going to be the move that is going to come before the first pullback. Or, before the first change of character. So does it make sense for us to risk more? Because if I'm risking maybe let's say 7%, then I need a 14% move in my favor for my risk reward ratios to be satisfied. So I ensure for myself that all the trades that we take for ourselves is always coming below a risk of 5%. So I'll show you with some actual examples. Now this is once again our in-house tool. We have collaborated with Shakti to kind of actually screen stocks and select stocks. We use our in-house tool. So you guys can also actually make use of it. Like you can actually get it for free. And over here itself, once again, this is our futures dashboard. And this parameter, what we look at, is usually on a Friday after the market closes. We don't select stocks on a day-to-day basis. We usually search for stocks only after the market has closed on a Friday, and we prepare ourselves for the next week ahead. So the purpose for this is we wanted to build a system where we don't have like new churns or new stocks, everything coming in between the week. Rather, we make it a point that our new additions or the fresh additions are always happening max to max on a Monday or a Tuesday, and the selection process can actually be done on a weekend. So right now, I'm going to tell you the exact same process that we are also going to undertake and what stocks we are going to watch out. So right now, if I have a look at the set of stocks, I see for a fact that the stocks that is in a long built-up are Escorts, M&M, JSW Steel, DLF, and Torrent Pharma. So why long built-up stocks? Because as per our analysis, we have understood that stocks in a long built-up, if at all it is capable of giving a 52-week high or an all-time high breakout, their momentum is generally higher than a stock that was not in a phase of long built-up. And also up to a certain extent, I'm not saying it drastically reduces the number of false breakouts, but definitely a stock in a long build-up has a lesser chance of undergoing a false breakout than a stock that was not in a phase of long build-up. So this is the only reason why we select stocks from long build-up. So earlier the parameter that we were using where like we were looking at stocks that was in the top performance for the last 3 months and we were cycling it. But once we came into long build-up and when we compared, our filtration process with respect to stocks in long built-up and stocks that was continuous gainers for the last 3 months, we identify that stocks in long built-up tend to perform better. So these are the universe of stocks that we are actually going to look at right now. Like these are the 5 stocks that we are going to look at, and let's see which are the stocks that we can take it forward for our swing. So first of all, we start with Escorts, and if I have a look at the charts of Escorts, if I'm to look at the charts, it seems like the last day was like a pretty bullish candle. And if I want to take a normal price action entry, once the high of this particular big bullish candle is getting broken with my stop loss at the swing low, I see for a fact that the risk I'll have to take over here is going to be 8.62%. So this itself eliminates the stock from my watch list. Why? Because the risk, if at all, first of all, I don't take these kind of breakouts. Second thing is the risk. If I have to capture like 1:2, I need like almost a 16% move, and the risk is actually more than 8%. So as per our condition, we need to watch out only for stocks where the risk is basically coming lesser than 5%. So Escorts, so we can just straight away eliminate. Now let's have a look at the next stock, which is nothing else but M&M. So over here, M&M is also looking as if it is going to give a breakout. So we have a high-level breakout that is going to happen. However, if I want to directly take a trade, the risk associated with this trade upon my entry on the high level getting broken would be almost be around 7%. And I'll have to take almost a 14% risk if I have to take a position over here. So now somebody could actually ask me, okay, this is slightly more than 5%. Can I consider this? So I will still consider this stock if I didn't have any other stocks to watch out for. But this week, though, we have some better opportunities. So better, though, we can look at that. Now, somebody could also ask me, okay, if your risk is basically going more than 7% or 8%, can you basically wait for a pullback and then can I actually go ahead with the trade? We don't do that. Our entries are strictly on Mondays and Tuesdays because if we wait for a pullback, all those things, maybe the stock was initially in a long build-up, will come out of that long build-up phase also. That can also happen. So right now, if I have a look at DLF as one particular stock that has been in some sort of a consolidation, and if I had to kind of actually just look at taking a breakout based trade, here though in the case of DLF, we can also look at a breakout in the perspective of a trend line too. So if I had to take a trade with my stop loss at the swing level, my risk is going to be limited to be around 5.26%. And provided that the stock just manages to reach its 52-week high levels, we can expect the price to come back to 974, within which our 1:2 risk reward will be satisfied. So what I'm trying to say is, if the price is basically able to come back to its high levels, by that time itself, our risk reward ratio of 1:2 will still be satisfied. So this is something that actually makes me keen on this particular stock. Now I will also have a look how the stock DLF on a quarterly basis does. That is, right now so we are basically in the month of September. So now if you have a look, see, right now the problem when we are looking at Indian stocks is that almost every single month the average performance would be positive because our markets have been bullish as such. So what we majorly make use of is, we'll basically look at the quarters only for the last like previous years. In the last 2 quarters, how the stock would have generally performed if at all you were to take up a swing position. So I kind of actually just realized for a fact that 2023, the last quarter was like pretty good. And if I have a look at the average of the last quarter for 2022 also, it is like pretty fine. 2021 was bad. So quarterly, if I'm kind of actually looking at the seasonality, DLF has high odds of performing good in the last quarter. So if you look at this particular stock, and if I ask you out of looking at the seasonality data over here, which is the quarter where DLF has the highest tendency of performing better? So it seems like the last quarter. So in the past, it seems like it is always the last quarter where DLF has a tendency to perform the best. So DLF actually satisfies my condition. It is basically in a long build-up, it is giving me a risk-reward ratio that is possible. Like, it is not so extraordinary to achieve. We can actually capture the risk-reward that we are looking at with just like a 10% move, which is pretty much reasonable for a breakout stock. So the next stock that I have in my list is JSW Steel. So in the case of JSW Steel, last day we had like the price kind of actually picking up. It was a gap up. Now here also, if I'm to kind of actually measure with respect to the swing levels and to look at my risk reward ratio, I see for a fact that by taking almost a 4.5% risk, I could potentially target for an 8.65% move, once again provided this is a high level breakout in the stock and the stock is also in a long built up. So obviously market is in favor. I personally feel this is one particular, once again the sector also can do good and the stock can also do good. So now once again, let me have a quick look at the quarterly performance and let me figure out for myself, like which is that quarter where this particular steel sector as such does the best. So what do you think, like which is the quarter where the steel sector as such does the best? It's actually like you had to calculate it because like it's almost like it's very, very close. It's kind of a very close, like it is not clearly evident like in the previous case. So if I'm to look at the coming quarter, so if I'm to basically look at October, November, December, so how was the performance in the last 2 years? Is it good, great, decent? So apart from like last October, we kind of actually see 2023, November, December were definitely positive months. Yes or no? So basically JSW Steel is also something that actually satisfies my condition because quarterly, if I'm to look at, so we are almost done with September, so if I'm to hold for the next quarter, so these 3 months, seasonality wise in the last 2 years, yeah, this has actually have a good chance of doing good. Now I'm coming into the last stock that is basically in my conditions, that is Torrent Pharma. Okay, so Torrent Pharma also has been like staying in a pretty narrow channel right now, and we see that there is a possibility of a breakout. And once again, if I'm to take a breakout over here, my risk in this particular trade is going to be around 5, and I can basically target for a 2 hour with almost a 10% target, correct? So here, once again, in the case of Torrent Pharma, if I'm to basically look at the next quarter, that is October, November, December. So for this particular company, which is the quarter that is the best? It is clearly evident that it is April, May, June, that is the best quarter, okay? It doesn't mean that October, November, December is basically bad, but definitely April, May, June is basically the best quarter. Generally, not only for this particular Torrent Pharma, if you have a look at the other pharmaceutical sectors also, it is usually the April, May, June, that is the first quarter, that is the best performing. So here I have got 3 things that is basically satisfying my conditions. So one is Torrent Pharma, one is JSW Steel, and one is DLF. So if I'm to prioritize the 3, like now the 3 stocks we got, now if we have to prioritize. So let's basically have a look at the average performance specifically for the months of October, and you will kind of actually realize that it is JSW Steel and DLF that is leading. So now for the coming week, for me to look for swings, I have 3 stocks. One is DLF, JSW Steel, and Torrent Pharma. But if you ask me to prioritize it, I'll give more priority to DLF and JSW Steel, followed by which I'll also have a look at Torrent Pharma. So now my entry is going to be pretty simple. So provided that I'm getting a high level breakout of the candle that I have marked, I have also included the charts over here. I'll go ahead with a trade with my stop loss at the swing low. And my first target, or what I would personally be watching out to achieve, is going to be 1:2. However, 1:2 is not my fixed target, is my tentative target. So till now, whatever I have explained, is it all clear? This is pretty simple. This is like pretty simple. Now somebody could actually ask, like, how can I actually make it quantitative? You can do this with fractals. So whenever we were doing our back testing, or whenever we kind of actually see right now, this strategy that we are actually following, we are not automated. We basically use fractals for back testing. But if at all you are looking forward to automate this, because this hardly takes like 1-2 hours per week. But if you, anyways, if you still want to automate it, you can maybe make use of fractals and test this out. Okay. Fractals, basically Williams fractals. Williams fractals is an indicator which basically plots the swing high and swing low levels. So you can backtest this. Once again, this is for the daily time frame charts that we follow. You can make use of Williams fractals if at all you want to automate it. So I told you the entry condition. Now let me speak about the exit. So how many of you guys are actively doing swing trades over here? So now could you please tell me what works better, coming out at a fixed target when you're taking a swing or a positional trade, or riding the trend as much as possible when you're taking a swing trade? Riding the trend is obvious, correct? So now let me tell you our exit condition. So our entry conditions, I hope it is clear to you. Our exit condition is one of the easiest. We look out for a change of character in the daily time frame, nothing more than this. So how many of you are not familiar with what a change of character is? You must be knowing it. Simple. Something that is forming higher highs and higher lows. At any particular point in time, it starts forming a lower low and a lower high. So for example, this is an uptrend. Every single time there is a fresh high that is getting formed, it is higher than the previous high. And at any particular point in time, in the daily time frame charts, we start the formation of a lower low. We start seeing the formation of a lower low. So all the times we saw higher highs getting formed, and this was the first time there was a low that was getting formed, which was lower as compared to the previous swing low. And the next high that is getting formed once again is lower as compared to the previous swing high. So this is what we refer to as a change of character. That is something that was initially forming higher highs and higher lows. It starts forming lower lows and lower high. And this is what we refer to as a change of character. So our exit happens once the swing low, that is the fresh swing low after the change of character is happening, is formed, we take out an exit. So we don't come out at a fixed target. We keep riding the trend as long as we don't see a change of character. Now there is another exit method that you can actually follow. You can maybe think about an exit method. So earlier, before Ashokji was speaking about Dawn Chain channel. So like you can maybe think about an exit based on Dawn Chain channel also. That also works pretty good. However, we usually take out a manual exit either once the fractal low is getting broken, or the swing low is actually getting broken in the daily time frame post a change of character. Okay, so this is our exit plan. And on average, let me kind of actually just come into the next part. Yeah, this is purely long only. And let me just tell you, so the hit rate, so far in the last 2.5 years, we have been, all our performance is actually visible on the small case website. So you can have a look at the equity curve by yourself. And you can also see how many trades, everything that has been done. So our winning rate is almost 43%, and on average, every winning trade we make around 9.5%, and our average loss per trade has been around 4%. Okay, so this has been like our stats over the last 2.5 years. And the maximum loss that we have actually seen, that is not there on small case, because that time I didn't have my SEBI license. The maximum downside that we have seen is like around 18% on our portfolio. Because majority of the times your entire capital is not deployed. That is, your capital would keep cycling. As I mentioned to you, every week max to max will be having 1 to 2 entries, and at times some of your stocks will be having an exit, and you'll be sitting on free cash. So maximum hit that we have seen has been like around 18%. However, we also have like F&O strategies that does better in the downside market. So that is how we usually hedge it. So this is purely cash only. So we don't do this on futures. We purely do this on cash. And in fact, our F&O trades, what we usually do is we put our capital into these stocks. We pledge these stocks for margin, and that is how we usually extract margin for our F&O trading. So that is how we take it forward. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. That was like I just summed it up. And this is something pretty simple. It's not something so complex. However, this has been giving us like very good returns. And you can also try this out. You can automate this with the help of Williams fractals. If you want to do it manually, hardly it'll take you like maybe 1 or 2 hours a week for the selection process, and for the execution process, maybe you had to spend another 15-20 minutes. That's it, nothing more than that. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. So I think if any questions are there, I can take some questions from your end. And if anybody wants to see the follow-up. So I had discussed 3 stocks, correct? DLF, JSW Steel, and Torrent Pharma. And if you want to see for yourself how I'm trading the same or the next quarter and the other stocks that I'm entering, exit, all these things, you can follow me on Twitter. All my social media handles go by the name Livelong_Hari. So over there, I'm also publishing my verified P&L for F&O. So last financial year, we had done almost like 32% on F&O trading. So this financial year, we are in a drawdown right now. We are in a drawdown of 13%. So if you want to see my day-to-day trades, you want to see my performance, equity, F&O, all these things, you can keep in touch with me on Twitter or any other social media as such. I'll also be updating follow-ups of whatever I discussed here. So any questions, you can ask now.
Yeah, Hari, thanks for the presentation. For the fractals, what should be the parameters of values, if any?
Williams fractals in daily time frames. So what fractals basically take care of is, fractals basically compares the high, low prices. And in fact, fractals is one of the most commonly used indicators to track swing level breakouts. So most of the algos that basically works on swing level breakouts, swing high, swing low formation, spotting reversals, majorly they make use of this indicator called Williams fractals. They basically plot the high and low. Swing highs and swing lows can be plotted.